How do you think leaders learn best?
Usually through experience. There's a leadership thinker that I like a lot and just have admired for years and years, named Ron Heifetz, who's at the Kennedy School at Harvard. And Ron, among many other great points that he makes the point that leaders can either be on the dance floor or they can be on the balcony.
Mm-hmm.
And it's important to alternate your perspective between the two. If you're on the dance floor, you're kind of right in the thick of it. You're right in the middle of it, and it's pretty hard to see the bigger picture or the patterns. But if you allow yourself some space to sort of metaphorically get up on the balcony and look at it and observe it and say, okay, what's working here, what's not working here, then that's valuable as well. And they need to be in both places. Leaders need to, switch between the two. Mm. And I think in terms of learning, and development, I think having that experience, but then either with the help of a mentor at work or a manager who has great coaching skills or a colleague who does or an external coach or whoever it may be, taking time regularly to step back and ask some questions like, what's working with this? What am I learning from this? What's been easy? What's been hard? How would I apply what I've learned in other situations? What are the pull-throughs? What are the big themes? Just all of this. I think those are the kinds of questions that really help people capture their learning and understand the broader applications of their learning. But it's really great to have challenging experiences that stretch you to grow into that.
Yeah, so I'm thinking about people who are leaders and are wanting to improve, and I'm minded of a colleague that I used to work with who, I think it was Jack Welch that he was quoting, who said something like, "I never read a leadership or a management book in my entire career. I just get out and do it." And he clung to that very strongly, my colleague, and saying, I don't read these things because I think it is all about going out and doing so. But putting that to one side, there's a wealth of material available, though. Next level being an example of that. So how do you think, what's your advice to a leader as to how they therefore take advantage of that, given that the majority of real learning is going to come from their own experience and doing it?
Well, and so how do you take what's available in books like The Next Level and apply it? Is that another way to ask the question? Yeah. I think first, and I hope my book fits this definition, there's the difference between pure science and applied science. And I tend to personally look for books that are more on the applied science end of the spectrum. There's a lot of great research that's been done, but help me understand how to put it to work, how put the research to work and give me tangible ideas about how I can go use this on Monday morning. I think that's really useful when you're looking at books or other learning resources. Is there an application orientation, in the book? I think is really good. And then, what's the basis for the things that they're recommending? Is there research underneath it, or at least anecdotal research, that is robust enough that you can take it to the bank? I think What's the real life application, I think, is really important.
And in the book, you talk about speaking with people at conferences you've attended and courses you've run, and they talk about how they use the book. Just describe to us a little bit what users' experiences are then. How do they use it?
The thing that makes me the happiest is when somebody comes up to me, during the break of a workshop. This happened last week, actually. Is a longer-term leadership program where I'm a guest speaker in session 2, and they actually give them the next level in session 1. And in session 2, I'm there to really talk a lot about managing yourself effectively. But they've been kind of introduced to the picking up and letting go framework in session 1, and they've thought about that in the intervening month. And they'll come up to me on the break. They want me to sign their book or whatever. But, the book will be marked up with highlights, with notes in the margin. Sometimes it's flagged with Post-it note flags because they are pulling out the things that they want to come back to or that they want to have sort of at their fingertips to go do, and that makes me really happy because it's how I want people to use the book, as a resource. And I don't expect them to memorize it, but I'm happy that they've indexed it in such a way that it's useful to them in the moment.